What's up, y'all? You are listening to For the Artists, a podcast brought to you by Creative and Projects. I'm your host, Melissa Cherie, and I am here with another amazing, fabulous woman. Y'all know I like my intros, but for real, I'm always excited, okay, for every episode. But today I'm like super excited because the person I have on, she's just so extra special, like for real, for real. Her name is Jennifer Marie. She is an actress, a stand-up comedian, and she's an on-camera personality. She has a gift, y'all. You're going to see that, okay? Because she's going to connect with you through these airways. I already know. She won the last comic standing at the Ha Ha Comedy Club and was awarded the Diversity Scholarship at UCB to receive an incredible training for improv and comedy writing. She recently was on Wheel of Fortune 2021. And listen, she was a bonus round champion. And I do believe, if my eyes did not deceive me, there was a meme with my girl in it. Okay, I'm going to have to ask her about that. And then a couple of highlights of things going on right now. She just wrapped a feature film on domestic violence awareness. And she has a national commercial airing with Lil Baby. Y'all know Lil Baby. And it's a Rockstar energy drink commercial. Okay. She's got some other news, but I'm going to save that for her to release because, you know, I'm like fresh on the new information, but she's gonna put it out there. But y'all, give it up for my girl, Jennifer Marie.
Thank you. Hi, y'all. What's up, all you creative folks out there? Hi, sister. You also are all of these things that you just said. You're so kind and loving by saying the nicest stuff about me because some of that, you guys, is a little Drew. She's right. I'm something special. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, thank you so much for having me. I'm so hyped right now. I can't wait because I know it's about to go down.
It's about to
You
go
cute.
down. It's about to go down. No, you cute, boo. I
And
like
it's
that.
Women's History Month.
Yes.
We out here doing historic stuff.
We bring in all the women vibes. And let me tell you, my co-host, Eric Seitz, was supposed to be on today, but he has a major wedding happening, so he couldn't be here.
Ooh.
So, that he's going to be missed. But at the same time, I'm like, we going to do our girl thing. It's a different energy when it's, just the girls. We love our men, but it's just a different energy.
I sure do. Don't get it confused. I love y'all.
Where's little mama at? Where's little mama at?
But right. I love y'all.
Let's stay on the path. Okay, so listen. I have to ask you, okay? You have to take us back to the very beginning of Lil J Marie, okay? And how all of this started to come into existence. Because right now you're acting, you're doing your comedy, you're living in Tinseltown, Hollywood, the land of dreams, but you weren't born here. I know that for a fact. So take us back. Tell us a little bit about your story.
A little bit about the story. I like how you said little J Marie there. It's so throwback. I'm only 21. I'm forever 21. So it's just never going to change. It's my age forever. So what happened when I originally came out, the established EST time, I was like this. First of all, I was this color my whole entire life. Like I was born dark skinned. So it's interesting how today you see how many people love chocolate and it's like, oh, look at your beautiful dark skin. It wasn't always like that. And, I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. I was raised in the Midwest. So California was not even thought of whenever I was born. My mother wanted to live here since she was a kid, but I knew nothing about it. And when I originally realized, like, okay, I have a little bit of an extra. I'm a little extra. I wasn't like really young, but I was more like preteen. I ran track and I did all these different things. So we traveled a lot for track and field. I was an athlete all my life. And so I think that's when I noticed that I kind of liked entertaining people because I was young. I remember when I was a kid, I did used to go into the garage when my mom and them had company, or if they had company, I would go in there and I would be like, I did, they have us do a little routine so you could get a couple dollars, not like a stripper or nothing, but like, they weren't trying to teach me to be a stripper. It was encouraging me to just be free. And so I would always entertain the company. I mean, until they told the kids to go to bed, what that was like, y'all stay in the room time. But I knew that, I guess, when I hear my stories, and I do remember that part of it, that's when I was like, well, I always had this in me. And when I talk to my mom, she's always like, you've always been like this. Like you were born with this vibrant like personality, outgoing personality, if you will. So I've just God just blessed me with this personality. I don't have no like, oh, I was always knowing I wanted to be an actor. That's not my story. I knew I wanted a talk show. That might be the most accurate thing. And I mean, I would fake with my microphones, and I made my brothers participate when I would want them to make a commercial because we had the old throwback camera or whatever. I would make them do stuff like that. I was always that child. So it's like, come over here, you be this person. And I kind of maybe sort of directing all the time because I was the only girl. So I think that all has to tie into where I came from and why I ended up in this lane. And then the next thing you know, I ended up going to school in Louisiana on a scholarship to run track. As I said, I was an athlete. I was the first person to graduate from my family from college and HBCU at that.
Whoop,
And I just, yeah, shout out to my HBCUs and G. What's up, Grambling? Hey, y'all.
whoop.
But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It was weird because you end up in a place like today. You end up where you are today. Same for you. There was no plan. It was just simply just ordered steps and just living. I really was just living my life to the fullest. When I left Kansas City to go to Grambling, I did not know anyone. My family was not down there. I went on my own. I wanted to leave the first year I was there. I hated it. And my mom, she wanted to let me leave. She told me later, but she didn't. She was like, I cried the whole time you left, and she was being brave and made me stay in a way because I didn't legitimately have a reason to leave except homesick. And then I mean I took over Grambling. I became like a party promoter. It was like I love Grambling now, and I love everybody that I met from there. It was an incredible experience. I majored in mass communication, which is kind of like I said, along the vein of me having my own talk show one day. It was like I didn't know that's what I wanted to do. But boom, I'm like, what do you do in college? I had no direction. It was just I could run track. My coach wanted me to get out of Kansas City. I needed to get out of Kansas City. All love to my hometown, but it wasn't the place that was going to allow me to go into who I needed to be. I would have been a totally different person with a different life outcome if I would have stayed back home because it wasn't set up for you to necessarily win, not with the mindset that I had. So at that time, who knows what direction? Thank God for Jesus. I wasn't saved in those days. Let's just be very clear, okay? I was not saved, and I wasn't even close to thinking about God. And I needed to get away from Kansas City in order to develop the woman that God had intended me to be. So I don't know where you want me to go from there, but that is how I ended up graduating from college and ended up here in California. I should say thank you to my mother for sure because she was brave enough to leave Kansas City as well after I graduated. And she got on the train. She had $600 in her pocket in a suitcase, and she rode out here to California and stayed in South Central LA with my auntie on the floor until she had a place to live. And then she moved, and we piled up in her one bedroom, and all of us just moved out here. And the next thing you know, everybody is doing very well. And it's been a true blessing, just her walk on my face. So seeing that courage, you only can go up from there. It's a requirement in my mind to just do better. And that's her thing. I just want you to do better than I did. And I want my kids to be able to do better than I did. We just keep this chain reaction going.
Keep it going.
Yeah,
Yes. You know what? So we talk quite a bit, or not quite a bit, but there have been plenty of times where we've just acknowledged the divine things that happen along the journey that we really have. We can't take any credit for it. We don't really have a hand in it. It's like something divine is working, and we acknowledge that as God. But um so you didn't have a plan. It's like sometimes you just have to go
no,
with your gut and go with your leading you know
absolutely.
and I think a lot of times as artists, people want that plan. They want exactly how it's supposed to go, when it's supposed to happen, who it, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And it just doesn't
Hmm.
it doesn't arrive like
No,
that on a silver platter with all of the ingredients right in front of
no.
you.
No, no, it still isn't clear enough with the ingredients. I'm still like, oh, excuse me, can I get some ketchup? I'm like, I'm missing some things here. Hello, excuse me, can I get another glass of water? I mean, we're missing some stuff. And that's such a great point is there was no instruction. There still is no instruction necessarily. I think the technicality side where of course you need to keep training. Of course you need to network. I use air quotes on purpose because you know it's network. You can't trust somebody else with your whole future. It's like it's not
Mm.
all about necessarily who. I just don't believe that. I think I know a lot of people and people change up on you. So just as much as you think you know somebody and like, oh, I know this person works here or that person's on this show or that person does this, it doesn't necessarily give you a hole in a foot in. You need to have yourself prepared for what is coming or what you want to come. So it's kind of like preparation. When people say that preparation meets opportunity instead of luck, and it's like, or whatever people want to say, I think that's what it is. I think you've prepared yourself. There are some people who are going to get those overnights and be overnight sensations or just oh my gosh, this happened. That was their cards. That's what God had set up for their lives. But I do think for most people, especially in the industry that we're in, that you need to prepare yourself. You need to sing, you need to act, you need to write, you need to do stand up, you need to do whatever it is, direct, if that's what you want to do. Because there's going to come a time where you're going to have to show yourself approved. And so it's like, oh, okay, so what have you been doing? And oh, you're an actor? What have you been in? And I can't stand that question. That's another thing. Please don't ask people that question. It's like, oh my God, that's like the worst question to ask people. Here, now, later, it doesn't matter. What have you been in? Imagine that even when you're a big time actor, like if you got to ask me what I've been in, then it's just like, okay, you probably haven't seen it before, but it's kind of just like, don't ask the question. And if I haven't been in anything, how awkward is it for me to say to you, oh, my dream isn't working the way I wanted it to work right now? So it's just the worst question ever. I recently opened up a bank account, a business bank account, and the lady asked me that question. She was like, "Oh, what have you been in?" And I'm just looking at her like, "Does my money work here?" That's what you need to know, because you obviously ain't watching the genre of stuff that I'm in. So it's just those questions. Oh my God. So anyhow, that's a side note for those of you who are watching for somebody else. But yeah, it's just a journey, and I think kind of back to what you were saying as far as not knowing the steps. I find pleasure in it now. Obviously, at the beginning, you don't know that the journey gonna take this long, but you sign up hype, and then you be like, okay, crickets, like what is
Mhm.
happening here? But it's fun, and if you really want to do it, if you don't, it's gonna feel like stress all the time. I am not stressed out. I'm making my business to find other sources of income. This is just my way of going about it now. The beginning, I didn't do that. There's always been the times where you slept in a car or you stayed on somebody's couch or floor for. I mean, I've done all of those things, but it was like, okay, then there's a time to stack up, and then there's a time to go hard at it. Whatever happens, happens. Until and if you don't have peace in doing it, that's when I feel like you should readjust, like reevaluate. What can I shift? What should I change? Do I need to get a part-time job? Should I be working full time? Am I going to be able to do this for this long? Who can I count on? And that's the kind of mindset you have to have early as you can. Like, I didn't get it until I was a little bit older. Some people are much more mature than I was. So it's like the faster you can figure out responsibility, accountability to yourself by going to classes, by taking care of your body, by taking care of your mental, and making sure that you are prepared for what's coming, the quicker I think God allows us to go there, especially when you're his child. Because I noticed that he didn't give me nothing that I wasn't ready for. And when he did, I squandered it. And that's literally what happened. My very first commercial money, woo, I couldn't tell you what happened. Well, I can't tell you what happened. It was terrible. But that's what I feel like he allowed me to see. Now when he blessed me again, it was like, okay, I'm not gonna waste that again. And he gives me all this other wisdom about investing, about real estate, about having your own fill in the blank. and you're like, oh, that's what I should have done with that $20,000. Oops. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like you have to live and learn, but the quicker you can learn, the easier it is for you to live.
Hey, girl, you up here dropping these gem nuggets, okay?
You know how you feel it in your spirit, and you was like, "Oh, wait, excuse me, let me write that down." It was like,
Listen, it
"Whoa, did
says
I say that?"
encourage.
No.
It says encourage yourself, and you was encouraging not only us but yourself. I love it. Mindset is literally everything, though. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mindset, and it takes sometimes it takes that maturity, and the maturity doesn't necessarily always equate with age.
Right.
However,
Absolutely
in the more
not.
natural sense, sometimes you don't mature until later, but some people can get it early, which is why we're having this podcast. It's like, no, get it early so you don't have so you can, miss some of the things that we went through and fast forward a little bit. But speak to because you just said, you just dropped a little like sometimes you sleeping on the floor, sometimes you sleeping in the car. I mean, I had a situation like that when I was
Mhm.
transferring to moving into the direction of like starting this nonprofit, and it was a very
Mhm.
difficult time. So I know you've had those times, and we talked about
Mhm.
discouragement earlier this month. So I want you to speak a little bit about how you, I mean, obviously you can encourage yourself, but I mean, go a little deeper with like,
No, I will.
just a time of discouragement and how you got through it.
Mm.
Because what about those times when it's hard for you to encourage yourself? Because sometimes it
Mhm.
just is.
Yep. Hmm. Mm. Mm. Sorry for the pause, y'all, because there's a lot that comes to mind when you talk about a time that you were discouraged or how do you encourage yourself. I am, and this is me. I don't, and again, God made me the way He did. Discouraged, like for my discouragement is usually like really heavy stuff. I find myself very blessed because I can overcome those kind of things, like not having, being lacking,
Mhm.
um, not getting a part or something like that. When I tell you I'm blessed to have that kind of stuff roll off,
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell you why though. It wasn't the price that anybody ever should want to pay or have to pay. But this is a substitute and acting as like an as if is what you like to say, replace something to get whatever. So it's like for me, I've had tragedy in my life, like real serious tragedy. Like I lost my dad very early. I lost my little brother very early in my life. And my little brother died first. So it was like, oh my God, I was still in college when he passed away. And it shook me to the core.
Mm.
But I wasn't different at the time. I still, because I was young and I was still like, oh, but F everything. I was angry.
Mhm.
I was angry. And that might be my discouraged time. And mind you, this was pre Jesus. So I didn't have the worship, I didn't have the prayer, I didn't have the encouraging word. At the time, I was smoking weed, I was drinking and partying and blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't like I was even healed in any way. So I, at this point, didn't care about life. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
didn't mean like I wasn't suicidal, but I didn't care about life. I wasn't responsible
Yeah.
because, and it was confusing what happened. So this, and I tell you all this because I want to get to the question that you said about being discouraged. So now you're talking about somebody whose brother was 1 year, 1 day in difference in age. We were this close, and it was not supposed to happen in my eyes.
Mhm.
So I'm like, whoa, what the heck? And so this is the way I start my 20s. So it was like, oh shoot. It wasn't like I was it was just like what it did. That's gonna be the rest of my life pretty much when you turn 20 and this is what's happening.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, okay, that's devastating, but you keep going. My mama kept going. If she got to keep going, I got to keep going. And one thing I'll say to discouragement is I just look at other people's lives. And I have this thing about it. You said it earlier about learning from somebody else. I look at the way somebody else's life is going, and I'm like, dang, it could be sad for me, but look at how much worse it is for that person. It's just about that switching, and it's a mind thing. I literally can find myself having compassion, I guess is the right word, and empathy for another person's circumstance. And so I always looked at my mama like, how is she still going and this happened to her kid? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
my dad too, my daddy too, because at the time it was my daddy that was his baby too.
Mm-hmm.
And so then my dad passed away. It was like 5 years. Um, okay, so then my dad passed away in 2011. And so it was like, oh shoot, that one. And I got saved probably the year before, or about 7 months before that.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing about that was I knew Jesus and I was just getting started. So I had that zeal mixed with the natural personality, I think, mixed with determination.
Mm.
And so when that happened, I was I was determined to live my life in an as an overcomer. That's the way I'm going to say that. At that time, I said absolutely not. At this point, I'm representing. I know I represent for God now because I got saved. I know it. I wouldn't have known that then. And so even if I didn't know it, in my mind, I'm representing for the people I love who can't live no more.
Mm.
So this is why I say it's not so easy for me to get so discouraged, because I just think about somebody who doesn't get to live out their dreams, somebody who doesn't get to live their life to the fullest. Like people say it so loosely, live life to the fullest, live, and we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we live in fear. We live like you said, we talked a little bit before this. You ain't living in fear whenever you're doing what you know God called you to do. It might not feel easy, but you're not being afraid to live, and you're honoring whomever else is not able to live. And that's the way I look at my life every day. I'm like, Lord, I'm just gonna honor the life of my brother, the life of my daddy, by living my life to the drop till there's nothing left. I heard somebody once say, I want to die empty. That's it. Whatever day that is, you want to be like what Jennifer was doing, everything she could. Because if it's giving, if it's serving, if it's acting, if it's hosting, if it's coaching, if it's whatever God says do, I'm on it. Because I'm not, if I was working a regular job in healthcare, which I also do, because it's helping people, it's giving back, it's giving back, it's giving back, it's pouring out. He pours back into us. I
Mm.
don't drink coffee. Like I just be like, they be like, how you still going? Cause God. And it's like, that's my encouragement. That's how I overcome. Because the best blessing is to be a blessing. And I'm not trying to be preachy, but it's the truth. It's like, this is literally what keeps me going and saying, somebody is going to be able to say, okay, thank God, thank God you were here. And guess who's going to get the glory, sis? Always it's easy to give the glory back to God. When people try to talk about my old life, I'd be like, well, look at me now. You can thank God for Jesus. He still gets the glory, even when you try to make me look bad. It's never gonna fail. It's never gonna fail. That's why I tell people, don't be ashamed of your past, because it's gonna come back on. Look what God can do. Won't he do it? So I don't like to get discouraged, because I always know I'm an overcomer. I'm an overcomer. This too shall pass. Renewing of the mind. That's how. And you gotta make sure that you practice renewing your mind on purpose. Don't if you can't, you might double check, like, oh, is it something mental going on? Like, and there's
Mm-hmm.
no shame in that. I don't have any shame with knowing that I'm in a darker place when I'm in darker places. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, okay, I was way too angry, y'all. And I get that too. And I'm like, ooh, I haven't come out of this cry, like, emotional state. And I'm aware of myself. So a lot of self-awareness, so that the second that you notice something's off, on purpose, intentionally pull yourself up, get around somebody that loves you, call a mentor, call somebody that cares, even if you don't know them. Social media is full of people saying nice stuff. It's not always negative stuff. There are people, there are pages. Renew your mind, feed yourself with the positive things. If you know that you struggle with some things that feel like, I don't feel like doing this, or I don't think I can, come to Girl Talk with Jay Marie. Follow Melissa Cherie. Do whatever you need to do so that you can get encouraged, because we're out there. there are people out there that are with you and ready to help you overcome any kind of disappointment. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do every time. I'm gonna overcome them. I don't care. I'm gonna push past it because I'm strong in the Lord and He got my back. That's that.
Yes. And you know what I love? Okay, so everything that you're saying, the words that are coming out of J. Marie's mouth right now are the things that are running through her mind. I mean, that's the
Mm-hmm.
key. It's like we have to
Ooh, that's
shift
good.
what's running through our mind. It really can be that simple, you know? Sometimes people like,
Man.
no, but there's so many horrible thoughts. It's like, and what have I heard before? Somebody's like, who's the committee? Like, what are the voices that are speaking in your head? Like, you hear them,
Mm.
right? But learning to tune the ones that you don't need to hear, that are not serving you, that are not benefiting you, to tuning those out or down,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then pick up the voices that are saying what you need to hear. And if you're not hearing that around you, then like we said, say it to yourself,
Amen.
you know?
Say it to yourself. We talk to ourselves all the time, subconsciously, even. We might not realize it, but we talk to ourselves all the time. And you hear this so often. It's like, oh, whatever. But it is so real. What I say to myself, if I catch myself saying something even negative to myself, I fix my words, especially out loud. And again, this is something you don't just wake up like. It was planned. It's like now I'm intentional about saying, girl, you are not stupid. Like, no, I'm not about to say that.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is an opportunity to grow. Call me crazy, call me whatever you want, but I'm usually happy. So you can say whatever you want to say about me talking to myself. You don't see me in this room, dark closets and stuff, because I am intentional about taking care of my mental health. And I don't have any shame about what process that looks like. When I need to cry, guess what I do? I cry. I might put on a slow song just to cry harder. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what I do. But I'll know that this is a purpose. There's a purpose to these tears. I'm mourning if I'm mourning in that moment. I'm celebrating if I'm celebrating. I'm whatever that might be. I emote though. I let it come out. And I'm healthy emotionally. I really, really am. Maybe my anger I struggle with a little bit. But other than that, I live in California. So you only know you struggle with anger when you deal with road rage. You be like, oh my God, I need Jesus some more. It was just like, okay. But yeah,
Girl.
so sometimes I go a little higher when I should be down here, that part. But yeah, we all have our things, and I just ask that you take inventory of your own yourself. Take inventory of yourself. And so you can check off where you think things are off and make sure you stock up where they're going right, and restock often is what I'm saying, because it's necessary so you can stay healthy. You can't do nothing for anybody else until you take care of yourself, and that's an important, man, it's so important. And I be messing that up all the time. But when you work on it, it gets a little better piece by piece. I'm not good at that yet, but I'm still trying to focus on taking care of me. And then I say, oh yeah, sure, I can show up to this, or sure, I'll be able to do that. But sometimes, I do too much. You can't be 90 places at once. You know what I'm saying? You can't.
Girl, that's because you're so talented. You know, there are so many things that I love about you, truly. One of the things I want to highlight right now is ever since I've known you, shoot, and I've known you for a minute now. It's
It's
like,
like 10 years, if not
yeah, it's
more.
like going by fast.
What year is it? Yeah. I'm
It's going by
like,
fast.
I keep forgetting we're in the 20s. So yeah.
Yeah, we in the
Okay,
years
forever
where it's like
21.
you used to
Look,
only
I'm
you used to only see it in the movies, and now we're living it. Like the sci-fi movies, we're like, wait,
I
we're
keep
creeping up on
forgetting
that
that.
2035.
Right. It's like when they say 2050, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I could still be alive in
Okay, we
2050.
sure
It's kind
could.
of like that stuff is like, oh, wow. But yeah, you're right. Oh,
But we
Lord.
digress. But I was going to say one of the many things that I really love about you is obviously your consistency. But when I say consistency, I don't necessarily mean consistency in like the specific things that you're doing. I mean a consistency in like who you are. And to me,
Mm,
that's very rare because you don't always find people that are consistently showing up in who they truly are. And I love that
mm,
about you. And I think I've told you this before, I'm not sure. but you don't compartmentalize your things. You know what I mean? You're like the embodiment of what we're trying to help artists get to in terms of having a more like holistic
Mhm,
perspective, or
mhm,
of themselves, so that they're not just focused on their talent. You're not just focused on your talent. You're not just out here in LA like, I got to be an actress, I got to be an actress, I got to be a comedian. You know what I mean? Like, that's, you're more whole about everything. I see you move your booty Mondays like you doing your physical thing.
Woo!
I see you, girl, prayer on the spot. You know what I mean? Like, you always are about the Father's business. And you got some other things that you can talk about in a second too. But it's like you go all in to everything that embodies J. Marie, if that makes sense. And I love that, because that's what we should all, I mean, we're not experts, we're not telling people what to do, but I love that, because I really feel like there's a power and a strength in aspiring to do that, to embody the essence of who we really are, and not just focus on one single thing like our talent.
Absolutely. Oh, listen, praise the Lord for my sister. Thank you so much. You are a girl. She's so bomb. And like I said, God made me. That's all I can say. He made me this way, and this is what I'm gonna say today. Thank you, Jesus, because all I know is I always reference what you just said to the parable of the gifts. And
Mm.
the parable of the gifts, for those who don't know, there was in the Bible, they talk about like these two different types of people. And it was like one person, they were given one gift, another person was given five gifts,
Mm-hmm.
and the one person with the one gift, he went out and multiplied. Am I saying this right? Am I mixing it up? Okay. The
He
five gift
buried
person,
his. The one that only had one, he buried his.
the one that only had one buried his. Thank you. The one that only had one buried his one beautiful gift. And the one who had five, he multiplied his gifts and multiplied his gifts and multiplied his gifts. And so when God comes back to say, hey, what did you do with your life? In other words, oh boy, it was like, well, shoot. I mean, I was holding on to this acting career you gave me so bad that I just was like, Lord, you let me be an actor. That's all I need to do. I'm gonna be perfect at acting. Watch me be perfect at acting. And God was like, okay, you out of control. Basically, long story short, God wasn't happy with the fact that he just hoarded this one little gift. Not little, but it was one gift that you could have done more with this. Say you
Mm-hmm.
was the person who had 10 million followers, but you wanted to be an actor so bad and thought that's all I can do is act. I'm only gonna act. I gotta focus on acting. This is everything's only dedicated to acting. I don't care about the kid that needs a mentor. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
about the homeless people that I could have been giving my money to help them, or the drug addicts, or the
Right.
whatever, so that I can get them out of addiction. I don't care that I have a voice where people are going to listen when I speak. I have to be great at acting. Let me go to my acting class. Let me go do this. Let me stay in perfect shape so that I don't have one muscle that looks crooked. It's like all I want to do is look perfect to be an actor.
Mm.
And then there's this other person who had five gifts. Maybe they could act, maybe they could sing, they could dance, they could do stand-up comedy, and they knew how to preach or whatever. They were inspiring, so they turned themselves into a preacher on the side, or they did motivational speaking so somebody didn't kill themselves. They did dance for these the prisoners or something so that they could have entertainment. They dedicated themselves to that. It's like that person used all these gifts, and then the next thing you know, they started getting more roles. They started getting the shows. They got this, they got that, because they didn't sit on it. And it is the most important thing to understand as artists. All of us, we are not just an artist. We are not just an actor or a singer or a director or a producer or whatever. You're not
Mm.
just a mother. You're not just a father. You're not just a daddy's girl or whatever, a trust
Yes.
fund child. You're more than that. You have so much more inside of you. And it's a dishonor to not use all of it. You
Mm-hmm.
can do more than one thing. You are literally capable of doing that. So go for it. And do you focus on one thing? For sure. I totally believe honing in and going and perfecting a craft. But I'm not just talking about something that's going to be lucrative for you. When I say you have more than one gift, there's a gift of encouragement that you could have. You could be the person who knows how to encourage people to pick up their bed and get going and believe in themselves. You might be a physical person where you're able to teach people how to stay healthy and to keep their bodies in shape. Whatever your gift is, we all have more than one thing we can do though. So you got to dig deeper than just the surface of acting or the surface of singing or whatever it is art artistry wise that we're good at doing, because everybody can use you. We can all use your gift. We all need your multiple gifts. So when God came back to this multiple gift person, job well done. They got the hand claps and they got more, all of the
Mhm.
overflow, because they did something that he wanted them to do, and that was take the investment of life that they were given and maximize it. Give them a return on this investment. For those of you who know about dollars, give them some money back. Say, God, look at us go. Shoot. Like you can do so much. And that's what I and that's why the consistency thing, somebody else said that to me. You were a person, and Eric said, it was a long time ago, it was years ago too. He was like, I love that your spirit is so consistent, is what he said, and what you just described. And I told him that day, I'll never forget it. It was probably 7 years ago or something. I was like, it's one of the best compliments I could ever get. To hear somebody say what you just said, like, I don't have to wonder who I'm gonna get when I see you. That's a identity.
Mhm.
You're in this game, you gotta, and I'm changing the subject a little bit, but you gotta know who you are.
Mhm.
Like, otherwise, they're gonna try to mighty morph you into whatever they want you to be, especially when you're singing. When you're an artist, rappers, singers. I mean, you see it so much where these people they get if you go look at some of these people's lives before Hollywood or before, the industry picked them up and was like, oh, you know what? We can do this with you. We can do that. We can do that.
Yeah.
And then, you're never happy.
Mhm.
It is just not worth that ticket to me. It's not. But that comes with your personal decision and your own personal, what is going to satisfy me? What am I going to be proud of myself about? Do I have to have the Grammy, or am I content with making music that I'm proud of and that I can give to people and know that they're going to be inspired by it or healed by it or whatever? But you got to know what your thing is for success, so that you don't get transformed by their version of success. What you should be proud of because of what they say is good. You
Right. I love that. That's my favorite word today, love. That's always my favorite word. But for real though, because there was like I moved here young, and I'm just so grateful that the opportunities that could have happened, like
Mhm,
that we didn't jump on or take advantage of. I'm so grateful that I didn't get into a lane that I thought I wanted to be in younger, because I would not have become who I am right now. And I've not arrived. I'm still becoming the fullness of who I believe God wants me to be. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like with the journey, it's so important that we all just learn to relax. You know what I mean? Relax and
yes.
listen. Relax and listen,
Mhm.
because things will divinely happen the way that they're supposed to happen and when they're supposed to happen, if we
Yeah.
just submit to being on the journey, doing our part and just kind of relaxing into letting it unfold.
And girl, that sounds so easy, but it ain't. Um,
Yeah, I know.
no, but I feel you. I just had to say that because you are so right. And there's a sweet spot that I think we get into, sis. I think we get into a sweet spot where we figure out what you just said and we actually do it.
Hmm.
I'm in the sweet spot where I was like, okay, I'm done. That's that surrender moment where you like,
Mm,
all right, God, you was right all this time where you were telling me to chill anyway. But I am in it. And now the level of anxiety is gone. It's like you worried about what? For what? For
mm,
what? because
Mm-hmm.
they said it's supposed to be happening by now, because that's happened for somebody else by now.
What? Oh, oh, we're having a little frozen
We
moment.
may have. Okay,
Okay.
there it is.
You're
It came
back now.
back.
You're
I see that
back.
there was a lot here. Because I saw it do it. I saw it do it. I stopped. See, I stopped because I have to use this
Yes,
thing,
you was
just like
ready, girl.
this
You was
exact
ready.
moment we're in.
Mm.
Just like the moment we're in, because the fact that we have to communicate like this right now, but look at what it has turned into. What looks, which not look to be, which was an extreme like tragedy for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
It also was an opportunity for so many people if they were just being aware, listening, like you said earlier. If they were listening and they were prepared to not to be lazy. This is where that using
Mm.
all your gift thing comes into play. Because now watch what happened. Watch what happened and what's going to happen, continue to happen for those people who moved when it seemed like we were supposed to be sitting still because there wasn't nowhere to go. Watch what's gonna happen. Mark my words. I'm a testimony to that. Just because you told me I had to, the fact that I had to be in my house was a blessing, because now I don't have an excuse for not sitting still long. It was like, thank you, Jesus, because I have a little more focus and I've gotten so much more accomplished. And look at what we're doing now. So you take the lemons and you make lemonade. That's a saying that's throwback and old, but it is incredible and it is accurate. And whatever lemons are being tossed at you, especially if they're being tossed at you in a violent way and you don't like it, catch them and make some lemonade, because it's time. Okay, it's time to come up. It's time. There comes a time where you hit the sweet spot where you're okay with waiting, and you know that you know. And this is where hope comes into play, sis. This is where hope comes into play. And I'm in a place of hope right now where
Mm-hmm.
I only believe something positive. I've been this year for me, the word 2021, the word was elevate. Elevate my thinking, elevate my the way I speak, elevate all the people around me. If it's
Mm-hmm.
it, bring yourself up to a place where you're not low level anything. Like, you got to keep your expectations even elevated. All of that, because it's just a place of hope. I was like, you know what, God, we done been through a lot together. I done a whole lot. You done a whole lot too, but just good stuff. Now me on the other side, no. But it's like at this point, it's just like, okay, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. I'm excited. It's been fun. I mean, nonetheless, you got stories for days if you just walk with the Lord. If
That's
you just
true.
walk this thing out,
Mm-hmm.
look how many people you want to encourage along the way. Look at the stories that you have. I mean, I've only, well, not only known you for a little while, but I don't even know your life prior to meeting me, but I just know how incredibly talented you are. I saw you sing on multiple stages at this point, so it's just in booths and wait. I mean, even just coming to my mind, and we don't even get to be hanging out that much. But
Mm-hmm.
all the things we've done together, from serving the homeless to, because we were on a journey,
Mm-hmm.
and because we decided to just be. Heck, this is where we are right now. We're downtown feeding somebody. We at the little open mic night. We're at with nobody there. Now there's people here. Ooh, we're having fun. We're in Beverly Hills. Was it Beverly Hills or off Sunset Boulevard somewhere where the whole place is packed and we jamming out the Prince. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah.
You're in the studio recording things. Like, you just don't know, but it is so much fun if you just let go and let God. Like, it's incredible to do that and be free and just love life while you can. It's very freeing, and there's liberty in that. So I'm looking forward to the journey. I love the journey. The journey is great.
Yes. Something about that bitter and that sweet, it goes together. I was
Mhm.
grocery shopping earlier for some stuff, and I had to get some bitter stuff and some sweet stuff. Anyway,
Mhm.
we're not gonna go down
I
there.
love that you said that. No, but you should use it, because when you think about what you just said, because that's my thing. You know how you finish eating one way or the other. If you eat some chips, you're like, ooh, I could go for a little. And now this is the people who are snackers. It's like, ooh, I need something sweet.
I'm a
It's like
snacker.
all of it. It goes together. I'm a snacker too. It goes together. It's like after you eat dinner, what do people do? They usually try to get a dessert, because a lot of the stuff that they had in there was maybe a little more salty or flavorful. But it's like, this is where you get your sweet. So there's both. It's balance.
Girl, I got that from the because Passover is coming up. And like,
Yes.
so I'm trying to get the stuff together for the Seder plate and stuff like that. And it is a
Mhm,
balance of bitter and sweet so
mhm.
that you can
Oof.
appreciate both and how they,
Mm.
all pretty much work together. But that's what that made me think of. I was gonna ask you, let's get
It's
practical
so
for
good.
a quick second. Cause you spoke about being prepared, right?
Hmm.
So to be practical, what does that look like in your life? Like how
Hmm.
are you preparing yourself every day? And in what ways are you preparing yourself? And that doesn't necessarily mean specifically to your talent, but how are you showing up to prepare?
That's so good questions. Is the way that I prepare myself and the way and again, this is all a learning curve. It was all learning process, still learning process. But one thing that I've learned is preparation looks like these kind of things. Number one, I think physically preparing yourself, which is why Immovable These Mondays was very big, and it dawned, I should say, on me more so during the original lockdown last year,
Mm.
because I realized that. So, and as you notice, so many people are like, I gotta lose these quarantine pounds. I've lost more than quarantine pounds, and I didn't even have none of those. I lost more weight during this time than I did when I wasn't locked down.
What?
Looking
Oh.
for, I guess. I'm like, huh, what can I do? I'm a writing down person. Like, even I keep paper.
Mm-hmm.
I keep paper because I like to have the day, what am I going to get done today? Order, 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 order for all of our lives. Like, find some type of order. Like, you don't just pop up. Again, this is stuff I learned over time, but it's like set your alarm clock to get up at a certain time. And I learned this from like some rich person I was listening to on a TED talk. But when I learned it from them, the crazy thing about it is my friends that are rich, they already were doing it. And I didn't know that until I watched this TED talk, and they were saying, people, I'm not saying rich is everything, but I'm saying wealthy people,
Mm-hmm.
they get up at the same time every day and they actually sleep. One thing I didn't realize, because so many people are like, oh, the grind don't stop. I'm still up and still not sleeping. It's so not even healthy. It's like, it's so annoying now because I thought it was cool to not sleep too. That's not cool. It's oversleeping is ridiculous. But I think a healthy amount of sleep so that your heart works better is not ridiculous. It's like, it's not cool to not go to bed. Like, it's just not. So learning about my body, I was like, let me take care of my daggone body.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I gotta run because for me, blood pressure, high blood pressure runs on both sides of my family. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. So I don't smoke. I don't, there's things that you gotta just say body, because who cares what you can do if you ain't here to do none of it? It's hello, this is
You
when
better say that.
this is when this thing right here, once it's done, nobody knows about your gift no more. It's buried.
That's so
I'm
true.
just being real. Nobody wants to have these hard conversations, but if you can't run, you know how you gonna sing. And so it's kind of like you gotta physically take care. And it's not maybe running,
Mhm.
maybe you like to bike, maybe you like to dance, maybe you like to box. I do all of it because I have a little bit of ADHD going. So it's like I like to do different exercises all the time. And so as long as I get it in, but it was a change of mind, like, I gotta do something so that I stay healthy. Staying healthy, that way when you got your mental, your physical together, your mental is connected to that. I'm not just making this up, and no, I'm not an expert, but I'm telling you it's all connected. Look it up, Google it. But when you're physically healthy, your
Mhm.
mental is also more balanced. That's why it's encouraged to exercise. I mean, every single doctor will tell you to exercise, but there's reasons why. If you're dealing with depression, when you're dealing with any of these types of things, they tell you to exercise too. So it's like there's multiple reasons why that's important. Another way of being prepared is learning from other people. And even if that's just your family, and you might not even know that you're learning from them, but indirectly you could be learning. If you see, and I'm not trying to come for no one, but if you see something about somebody, and this could be something negative even, you don't have to go through that though. It's like, if you know you don't like it, then make sure you pay attention to what you can do to be different or to not end up in the same situation, Or if you like what you see, what can you do to get to that place? And start doing it right away. Put it in part of your daily routine. Like those are the things that you got to do. Adjust, and just adjusting. You got to change some stuff. So to be prepared, you got to be ready to adjust. You got to change the way you were thinking. You got to change the way you were speaking. Change the people that you're around. Ooh, Jesus. You want to be ready for what's next? Are they in it? Because it's
Mm.
crazy that we don't know how to let some stuff go, but you want some change to happen. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Jennifer, I mean, talking to me, because Lord knows, I feel like a lot of my blessings came when people were let go. And
Yeah.
it was a reluctant thing to let them go. My stuff that I couldn't allow out of my life, from family to lovers to friends, it don't matter.
Mhm.
Do you want your mental? Do you want your peace? Do you want your goals? Sometimes it is dolo. Sometimes you solo dolo, unless you married or got kids. And then you know that you can, obviously, there's certain adjustments that you'll make so that you can continue your dreams. But sometimes this journey, baby, you got to just be like, oh, well, and this is what I'm going to do next. Because and again, I go back to the whole thing, because eventually it's going to come to you the right way with the right people at the right time, because you've been preparing yourself for all of those things to happen mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, whatever that is. You can't just show up and be like, I'm here,
Mhm.
okay? Like if I'm preparing myself to have a party for you, I'm gonna make sure that I got all this stuff set up. I'm gonna go get the streamers. I'm gonna go get the balloons. I'm gonna go get, and I've been doing this over time, or way before you got there. One or the other. It didn't just, oh, you're here, okay. Now we're about to have a party. Let me go get all this stuff. No, it happens over time. I baked the cake already. I've been preparing for it to happen, so
Mm.
it can be fun, so it can be good, so it can be celebrated, so that you can appreciate it. But you gotta do all this stuff before it comes to you. I just think that's what has to happen. And also, when you're not prepared, it usually doesn't go well. If we can use the same analogy, the birthday party. Like, if I didn't prepare nothing, the person that you was having a birthday party for is like, they're not happy. It's not like, oh my God, this is incredible. But when you prepare it, it's exciting. It's amazing when it comes, when it happens, for whomever is on the receiving end, or the person who is given that thing that needs to be prepared for. So if you get that audition, or you get that opportunity to audition for an opportunity to go on tour with somebody, it's kind of like, I mean, because I know several friends that are killing even during quarantine. They're still getting asked to do stuff, but it was like they've been preparing for this forever. They don't just
Yeah.
stop and start eating and snacking because they closed everything down.
Mhm.
At this point, it's like, oh, what are new techniques that I can learn? Everything is on Zoom these days. That's something that I learned now, was like, oh God, all these expensive classes that I wanted to take, I couldn't take because I couldn't afford them. But they're giving heck like super low discounts because it's on Zoom. I'm still getting the same information. Prepared, come before the even, and God was like, God sees it. That's the other part about preparation. God sees it. People will be like, I ain't nothing happening, nothing happening, nothing happening. You keep sowing the seed of preparation. You keep sowing, I'm here, and I know that it's gonna come, but I'm also ready when it does. So you can't overlook me. You
Yes.
can't. You can for a host. Oh, wonderful. Look at all this host material that I have. This 2 seasons of my podcast. Yes, and this is my personality. They can see it without wondering. It's already done.
Mhm.
But you gotta learn to have it all ready to go. Another preparation is just making sure that you know what it is you want to do. What's the goal? What's your purpose? Not when I say purpose, I don't mean what's my purpose in life. I mean, what's the point of you doing all of this? Do you know why you want to be a singer? Like, are you just gonna? Because then you won't have to do stuff you don't even want to do.
Mhm.
You know now. You like, oh, I don't care. This won't lead me to the Grammy, or oh, I don't care. This won't lead me to having my own club one day. Whatever your thing is, you'll know how to prepare for that now. You'll be prepared when your opportunity comes, whether or not you need it. You won't waste time. It's just great. It's like if I'm looking for a mate and I know I don't want nobody with kids, I mean, that's not me at this point in my life. I'm kind of gonna have to be like, are they bad? I'm like, are they bad? Because I could just mix that in with the number of kids I always
You gotta
wanted.
change it up. They can't handle babies, but they can have some kids.
Eventually that changed for me. It was like, no kids, no this. Now it's like, how many are there? It's like, so yeah, everything. It's like if you're looking for a mate, you got your list. So you'll be prepared when that person comes along. Do you think you want that person or not? Are interested in them? Am I wasting my time? Would I consider? It all goes across the board. That's what I think about preparation. And I feel like when you prepare, it's gonna come, and next thing you know, you'll be taken off somewhere. I just that's the way I think life goes.
Girl, listen, you didn't know I was gonna ask that question, but you sure was prepared to answer it in depth, okay? You girl, you did that. All the
You
snaps up.
always got the best saying. That's you. That's you. You just did it. That
Now listen, now you gotta tell us.
was
You
so
gotta you
funny.
gotta let the are you letting the cat out the
So
bag?
funny.
Is the new
Only
stuff
because
that you
it's
got
you.
coming up?
Only because it's you.
Okay, yeah. Tell us about it, girl. I didn't want to put it out there because you was like,
I'ma
nobody
say it. I'ma
knows.
say it. Real quick, real quick, just thank you so much, Melissa, so much for having me here. Especially, I just want to share this because I haven't told anyone out loud, and I think even for me with this conversation we're having, I need to say it so that I hold myself accountable and just make sure that I stick it out and just go hard because it's a long time coming, a long time to go. I'm looking forward to it, but two big things that I am doing individually, meaning outside of like acting or everything else. I number one have started my company, which is going to be in regards to production. So I started my company, No Wooden Nickels, and No Wooden Nickels is first of all, it's a saying my daddy used to use all the time. So one of the
Aw.
definitely in honor of his legacy, but he used to say, "Don't take no wooden nickels." Every time I would leave out the house with my friends or whatever. So, anyways, it was a silly saying, but it was a great name for a company. So I say, "Hey, I like it." And so, No Wooden Nickels, and we'll be just I'll be able to contribute as an executive producer for different projects, specifically mine, because I'm going to just do things that are near and dear to my heart that are going to be done just in excellence. I want to see more of us on screen, more talent. I used to host the open mic
Yep.
before they closed our building down, but it was just like I want to be able to go back to that production side of things where I'm able to bring stories to life, get people on screen that have a gift or have a talent, and have a space soon, Lord willing, where we can have these places like we used to have, where I have talent come on stage and just all know what Nichols is all connected to, allowing us to use those gifts in a space and financially helping fund them. So that's the goal with that company. Whew, thank you, Jesus.
That's
Okay,
dope.
so that's in the works. Praise God. Some stuff is coming forth. Some stuff is coming forth. And the other big thing for me, which I'm super happy about, is the nonprofit organization that I too am working on. I know Melissa has just came out with really going hard on her nonprofit, which she's already established and been kicking butt in. But it's something I had in my heart to just do what somebody else is not doing, and that I know anyway. And I love to support anybody that's serving people. That's just one of my I love that. It's always gonna be something I love. So nonprofit work is in my heart. And
Mhm.
like you, I one day only want to be doing that. Obviously, outside of my other things that I do, but as far as my life goes, I want to be able to serve, and that's how I live. And the nonprofit is in regards to families that were like mine. Whether it was a single mom or a single dad, or a family that is not getting government assistance.
Mhm.
They put us in a position, and I say us, and I mean people of color, what I know, and even just poor people, but I say people of color because I'm black. So I'm just like, growing up, I mean, shoot, we didn't have everything, and it was like the one time, and I mean, I say the story and then I still am in shock, but it's like the one time my mom tried to get assistance because she had two jobs and she was working and then my dad was working, and then it was never a time where they weren't working. It wasn't like they were just the people that live off the system, in other words,
Mm-hmm.
or can only live off the system.
Yeah.
And they made her give back the food stamps that they gave because they said she made too much.
What?
When some of our lights were getting cut off,
Oh man. Well,
okay, so I have Spectrum.
girl, so do
There ain't
I.
many
I know you
choices.
paid your bill. They just be tripping.
Ugh. So
And we have
as I
to.
act like I'm still in that same place, saying what I was saying. Um, but no, in this situation, it was like, she had asked for food stamps this one time, and it was like $75. And you're talking about grown teenage people in the house that you got to feed. And they made her pay it back. And for me, it was just because they said she made too much. And
Mm,
it was heartbreaking, and it
mm-hmm.
still is. That was when I was in high school, and I still remember this. But for me, it was little stuff like that where I was like, okay, so I want to be able to go back and help the family like ours, or the mother or the father who was a single family home, and they do go to work every day and they still don't have enough
Yeah.
because it's not set up for you to have enough if you're not a certain type of person.
Especially in
So
Cali where the cost of living is just,
heck no.
you
And then
know,
they want you to keep your kids out of
asinine.
trouble. They want you to make sure your kids are in extracurricular activities. And we were. It was
Mm-hmm.
like you got to pay for cleats, you got to pay for uniforms, you got to pay for blah 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 blah. So my whole heart around the nonprofit, which is family oriented, so it's all from my Cole Graham family. But it's all about giving back to that single mom or dad or that family who doesn't have the car or can't pay their lights this month or can't pay the water bill this month. And it's those little bitty things that you just wish somebody would have done for you, or your parents wish somebody would have done for them. Pay their rent for a month just to help them just a little bit. It's like we might not be able to pay your bills forever, but or the whole year or something dramatic, but at least you're showing them that they are heard, they're not overlooked. This poverty level, which I don't know who makes that up. I don't know what they're looking at to figure out who's under that line, but okay. It's
The
like
people
hell.
that are making that up do not live anywhere near the poverty line that they're creating. Because if they did, then they would have a different understanding. But we not.
It
That's
will be a
another
different number,
episode.
honey. That's another episode. So long story short, it's all catered to helping those folks. And I'm looking forward to that launching and being automatically being a blessing and teaming up with other organizations like Creative and Projects,
Yeah,
where
let's
we
do
can
it.
help pay for the student who wants to be in the acting class or who needs headshots or something like that. That's what my heart is, to seek out that kind of way to be a blessing for those kind of families so that nobody can, we got each other's back. It's a family affair.
Yes, I like it. Do your thing, girl. Do your thing.
Mhm.
Okay, so
You do your thing.
do it. All right. So as we get ready to wrap up, you basically have to drop information on how people can stay connected with you, get in touch with you,
Okay.
all that good stuff.
Yes, 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 yes. So please, girl talk with J. Marie is just all I'm gonna always say. For right now, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to do. Girl talk with J. Marie. You can get on Instagram, um, Facebook, Twitter, uh, all of this stuff. Just go on Girl Talk with J. Marie, and it's GYRL. I did that on purpose. I know people sometimes hate when people change the words, the spelling, but it was like girl, because I feel like that's how I really say girl,
Girl.
girl. But it's like GYRL. So Girl Talk with JMarie.com, Girl Talk with J. Marie, and you'll just find everything connected. For right now, that's how you find me. And make sure you follow Prayer on the Spot. And it's just like it sounds, Prayer on the Spot on everything. And also the same for the .org. And I love you guys and I believe in you. And I know you can do all these wonderful things if you just keep your mind to it. Stay focused. Stay focused. Love the Lord. Love the Lord. He's gonna protect you. He's gonna
Yes.
protect you. And keep yourself surrounded by people like this one on the other side of the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
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 Your beautiful, incredible self.
Girl, this is so good. You are always a breath of fresh air. I love
Me
you. I love
too.
everything that you had to say and share. I thank you so much for coming
I
on,
am too.
being on this episode. I'm going to have you on again at some point. Listen, this girl
This
was
is so
popping with
much
her
fun.
podcast before it was even trending. Now you know everybody got a podcast. Look at I'm supposed to be wrapping up.
we
We're about to start
we
talking again, but like everybody and their mama.
we're gonna bring this back. You coming back to mine too though,
I'm
because
gonna
I
come
need
back.
you. Have you already been on there twice?
No,
I've
no,
had
I've
you
only
on
been
twice.
on
Go ahead.
once. I've only been on once.
Oh, because girl, I was looking at my list. I done brought back somebody else because it was a year this year for Girl Talk,
Was
and I
it?
was like, oh shoot, I'm about to. Not that I don't have other people, but it's like you just
Girl,
got certain
first of
folks that
all,
you want to be on.
getting people to come on and getting that content is more than an ocean. So, you know what?
Hmm.
Kudos to you. Happy 1 year anniversary. Keep doing that.
I know what you're saying though. Keep it going though. We gonna keep
We
this
gonna
thing
keep it
going.
going. We gonna keep it
I
going.
love you so much.
I
I'm
love you
so
too,
proud of
girl.
you. I love you. I appreciate you.
All right, y'all. Listen, you have been listening to For the Artists, a podcast brought to you by Creative and Projects. I'm your host, Melissa Cherie. I'm here with your girl, Jennifer Marie. We love y'all. In the meantime, keep creating from the inside out, and we'll see you next Thursday. Peace.